Welcome to Sacred Harmony, where healing meets the heart of human experience. Today, we journey with Michael Stone, spiritual teacher, shamanic guide, and author of Traumatized, a love story into the tender realm of trauma, love, and soul remembrance. Together, we will explore how pain can become a greatest portal to awakening, and how, beneath all wounds, there still pulses the quiet intelligence of love. Welcome to the show, Michael. It's such an honor to have you.
Oh, thank you, and it's an honor to be on your show. Many blessings.
So, Michael, yeah. So, Michael, you have spoken beautifully about the mother wound and early attachment. How do these first relationships shape our adult capacity to love and trust?
What a wonderful question. So first of all, um, to make it through life, we need to be able to regulate our emotions, to be able to connect with people, to be able to feel like we belong to the world, like we can grow and become, and just, feel like we can be. And in early development, it starts in utero, is that connection with the mother. And so when um, how we learn to belong and grow and develop is through co-regulation. Co-regulation means that as an infant and a growing baby, I have to be felt, seen, heard, held, and protected in order to develop. So the mother and the child always form a co-regulation. And what that means is that the child learns to regulate their emotions, to regulate their capacity to connect with people, to feel a sense of safety in the world. And if the child didn't get the sense of being safe or being seen or being held or protected, in other words, having a mother gaze lovingly into the eyes of a child, if that didn't happen, then the child has a hard time connecting with others, lives in a lot of fear, um, doesn't feel secure in life. And when overwhelming emotions or traumas come, they have a hard time dealing with it. So, uh, to give you a personal example of it, my own beginnings were my parents were at Pearl Harbor. Both my parents were in the military. My father was a fighter pilot. My mother was assistant to the Pacific Fleet. Very, big job for a woman, but they were right in the middle of the bombing. And so, there were thousands of people killed, battleships sunk, and they couldn't get the airplanes off the ground. And it affected my mother very much. And then in utero, there was a lot of trauma because what happens in utero when you're carrying a child, if you're drinking, smoking, or stressed, or have a lot of fear, that all gets connected to the child, and it really goes through. It can go through generations too. It could have been a great great grandparent that got passed down and never developed and integrated the things that happened. So in my particular case, my mother, what was what you would call now PTSD. She got very ill. She tried to kill me, thinking I was the enemy, or whatever. I don't know what she was thinking, but she, numerous times tried to kill me, and then 2.5, I found her hanging. So that's a real mother wound at the heart. And then, you know, trying to develop in a world that without that connection is very difficult. Um, Now, that doesn't mean it's a life sentence, though, because we have the capacity to grow and develop. So you could look at it also as a potential initiation, that this is the work that you have to do to grow your soul, to be able to connect with uh, those parts of me that are unfinished past. So trauma is unfinished past. When we talk about trauma, it's basically the same thing as karma, right? It's something that happened in the past that never got uh, recycled, never got completed. Um, what we're talking about in the mother wound is a particular kind of trauma. And when you have trauma, there's a beautiful thing that happens really in the nervous system. So, in any overwhelming situation, which a difficult childhood can be an overwhelming situation, our nervous system has been evolving for hundreds of thousands of years. And so, when an overwhelming, difficult, horrifying, whatever fearful situation comes, the nervous system fragments a part of our essence and it becomes lodged in the body as stress, tension and stress or numbness. And that numbness, it's actually numbing and tensing until we are able to integrate those parts where we didn't get the attention and love that we needed, then we will act out, but we will tense and we will numb. And so when we become more conscious and through meditation, contemplation, prayer, and a big part is community and is learning how to heal in community because we're wounded in the mother wound or in any wound. We're wounded in relationship. So the work that I do is really about healing those wounds, starting with the mother wound, and in relationship. Uh, and I'm talking about a group of people. I work in circles a lot with people, with 12 to 18 people. And when one person says something like, I'm so scared, I'm afraid I'm not enough, I don't think people will like me, these kinds of statements are a sign of the wounding. And so we push them down. We don't want to feel the yucky feelings, the hard feelings, the difficult. But in reality, the healing and the way that we grow our soul is to turn towards those things and feel them. It's like Rumi and the guest house. You know the poem, The Guest House. That a bunch of sorrows are going to come in and ruin your house, and let them in, invite them in, give them cake and tea. And that's basically, it's a beautiful. Rumi just says it so well that we want to invite in those things that are difficult as much as we can. And yet we need to have to titrate between a caring witness or an ally or a saintly figure or an ancestor. All of those are part of the healing process that comes. So the mother wound is also an opportunity, not just for healing ourselves, but for awakening humanity. Because when I do my work, it actually ripples out into culture and it ripples back into my ancestors. So it can heal the wounds of my ancestors and develop healthy children, and healthy future like that. So that's a little short example of it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And when we recognize those old echoes playing out, how can presence and compassion truly begin to rewire them?
Presence and compassion. Is that what you said? Yeah. Yeah. Great. Wonderful question, Anya. Um, so what is presence? That's the first thing to say because mostly we're on automatic pilot based on the things that happened to us in the past, based on the fact that we don't need to feel everything that's going on in our body in a day to day. We couldn't work if we were just sitting and meditating all the time. But um, but deepening presence is creating more inner spaciousness. So inner spaciousness means that literally I I can feel in my body the contractions of my trauma, my mother wound, whatever happened to me, that tensing and numbing or hyper and hypo regulation that goes on. So when I can soften and slow down and bring myself into a state of presence, it creates more inner space, literally more inner space. So that's how I build my capacity. So I have more space, then I refine my awareness and bring more presence to the felt sense, what's happening in my body. And I begin to feel the micro movements and feel things in my body. So I'm raising my awareness. It literally makes my cup, my body, more, there's more space. So if there's more space, there's more creativity, there's more manifestation, there's more opportunity for self-realization as well as realization of the world around me. So basically, a human being is movement. Movement is energy. So in my body, I have space, which is stillness, which is, spaciousness, capacity, and I have movement, which is information. It's data. It's energy in motion. So being more present allows me to tap into the spaciousness as well as the movement, the energy, and the stillness. And that means I can be more present, more creative, and also does lead to the development of compassion because I'm not so much focused on my identity, my story, my ego. I'm actually able then to be more compassionate and more available to be with someone. So, uh, just a second. Sorry. Um, so, uh, uh, so presence and compassion uh, are about capacity. You know, here in North America, particularly, but many, I'm sure it's the same in India. Um, we talk about stress. The world is moving very fast. I'm so stressed. There's so much. It's almost like a competition that people say, I'm stressed, and the other person says, oh, you're stressed. I've got all this to do, and they're competing for who's the most stressed. But we use these words and we don't really examine on what they mean. So when I say I'm stressed, what does that actually mean? It means that my current capacity is insufficient to meet the challenges that are in front of me. I'm stressed because my capacity is not enough to meet the challenges. So, so growth and development and growing my soul is about increasing my capacity to hold life so that life itself moves through me rather than happens to me. If life is happening to me, I'm always defending, I'm always protecting, I'm always working harder, doing more, making more effort. But if I'm not, then, then I can actually be still. And in that stillness, the world evolves, life evolves. And um, uh, we become a growing part of the evolution of not only our own soul, but the world soul. And that's pretty amazing.
Yes, it is. And it's so powerful how awareness alone can soften the grip of old patterns. And many listeners might be realizing how their earliest bond can still echo today.
So, yeah. So I'm not clear about your question. Ooh, we got big thunder here, lightning.
So, you have lived through the pain of long term suspicion and injustice. How did carrying that weight for decades change your understanding of shame and forgiveness?
Ooh, boy, that's a big question. Uh, okay. So, we think of time as in a linear fashion, that the past is behind us and the future is in front of it. So this is one way to look at that. And that's not accurate from a soul perspective. What's happening in a soul perspective, all there is ever is presence. But unintegrated past, either my own And integrated means that I've brought awareness to it and it no longer controls me. Okay. So, the unintegrated past it keeps us stuck. It's the trauma. It's the part of us that could be handed down for many, many generations. Let's say my grandfather, great grandfather in World War I or two, um, killed some people, and it turns out they were innocent people that he killed, and he carries heavy shame, and that shame then becomes lock in not only his body, but then he has a child. That shame through epigenetics and genetics gets passed on to the next person. And it's called legacy burdens, burdens that are given down through generation to generation to generation. And so that's part of this. So the mother wound is, all the way back, um, generations back. So uh, I have to become aware enough to at some point say, wait a minute, this shame that I'm carrying, and the difference between shame and guilt is I did something wrong. Shame is I am wrong. There's something wrong with me, right? So I have to get back to enough presence to go, wait a minute, you know, that shame that I'm carrying isn't even mine. I was innocent as a child. Nothing happened to me. And I realized that this is coming from somewhere else. That's where ancestor work comes in. Then I have to go back and feel into where is that shame? Maybe it's my father, maybe it's my grandfather, maybe it's my grandmother, maybe it's the Holocaust. And I have to then connect with that in a way to say to my parents, I love you, and am grateful for the life that you have passed on to me and given me, for the light and the life that has been passed down to me. And this shame is not mine, and I respectfully give it back to you. And then I have more space and I have more capacity, and the shame dissolves and goes away. And then I have more room to be compassionate to myself first and then to others. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And so, do you feel forgiveness is a destination or an ongoing practice that keeps deepening?
Um, well, forgiveness is that's a very sticky area in terms of forgiveness, first of all. So forgiveness has, if not done in a sacred way, forgiveness has the capacity of creating more separation in that I say, I forgive you, me in my largesse and my bigness forgives you in your smallness. So you see, it can create an incapacity. So true forgiveness starts with the forgiving myself, and uh, and uh, and also honoring in the other person the legacy, the legacy that has been passed down through generations. So um, forgiveness again uh, is to return us to a state of presence where we see that our story, our ego, our narrative that is living us. We have a story, but we're not our story. But for the most part, we think we are. We don't even think about the story. It's just living us. So again, it comes back on you to awareness, to presence, to allow ourselves to um, bring deeper and deeper levels of awareness. So when I become aware of your history, because I can feel that, the shame or the uh, things that happened that were terrifying, or the things that happened that I was really hurt. When I can see where that comes, it's not a I'm a forgiving you, it's more that I can feel you. You see, when I'm really present, I don't need to ask you how you feel. I don't need to ask you even what you think because I already know because we're connected. So, you know, divine order, sacred law is not two, no separation. Okay, but we live in a world that bifurcates, that separates, that um, uh, you're over there in India and I see you on the screen, and I'm over here in California and I see myself on the screen, and so it reinforces the false sense of separation. But another way of understanding and seeing a person is you, Anya, show up in my nervous system. I can feel you in my nervous system. And you know me in your nervous system. You had me here to talk to you. You have a sense of me in your nervous system. And that's way more real. So my capacity to connect, to forgive, to open, to all of that is directly related not to you, but to the capacity of my nervous system to hold you in reverence and understanding as a sacred being that is actually part of me. You're part of my essence. Now that we have connected, we always were that, but now that we've connected, you're part of me and I'm part of you. So forgiveness then becomes not such an important thing because there's a natural knowing I don't need to forgive you and you don't need to forgive me because those things were part of my karma, part of my journey. And I can only know you to the circumference of my capacity to know myself.
Yes,
So that's the case.
100%. And that perspective invites such humility, like it reminds us that forgiveness isn't about forgetting, it's about freeing the heart to love again.
Yes, yes, well
Mhm.
said.
So, this conversation with Michael Stone reminds us that healing isn't about becoming someone new, it's about remembering who we have always been, beneath the pain, the silence, and the fear. There's a pulse of love waiting to be met. If today's dialogue moves something in you, take a quiet moment tonight to listen with it, because every act of self compassion ripples into the world as healing for us all.
Yes. And I would love to um, share with people my new book that's just out. And it's soon to be also on Audible and ebook. But it's called Traumatized, a Love Story, Healing the Wounds That Separate, Alienate, and Marginalize Us. So it's Michael Stone. It's on Amazon and in bookstores. So Traumatized, a Love Story. And you think traumatized, a love story. Wait a minute, how do those go together? They go very much together. And our healing and our connection with the Divine Mother is really about honoring that part of us that is connected to the Divine Mother.